Arab Affairs. Today we'll be dedicating this episode to this focal point, this change in the history of Egypt through today's launching of the National Strategy for Human Rights. The President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has just a few minutes ago formally launched the National Strategy for Human Rights to develop a comprehensive approach to human rights as an integral part of implementing the state's national developmental plans and vision. The strategy is the first comprehensive and long-term homegrown strategy in the human rights field in Egypt. President Sisi has said that this launching or this new strategy is the result of great efforts exerted by a number of participants in this strategy. It also comes after more than 1 year of consultation and coordination between different institutions, the National Human Rights Council and a number of other institutions. All these were under the supervision of the Supreme Permanent Committee for Human Rights, which is chaired by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And this very important committee has been part and parcel of, or partial of, all the preparatory stages to prepare for this strategy to come out today and to be launched by the President. Here the President said that Egypt was the first country to contribute to the international Declaration of the Human Rights in 1948, and has never stopped in contributing in this throughout history, out of its faith and national conviction of the importance of boosting and protecting the human rights and the basic freedoms. The President also said that this this strategy, all through the National Human Rights Council, the participants from the civil society, from different governorates, a number of consultants, and a number of definitely diplomatic sources and others participated in putting this strategy. Definitely it has many pillars, or is based on many pillars, and is to be taking place in the span of 5 years. Just to highlight this issue, we have with us over the phone Ambassador Mohamed Hegazy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador Hegazy.
Good afternoon to you, Mona.
Yes, just highlighting the issue, and today we have been hearing the statements of Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry at the very beginning of this event to launch this strategy. And reading to that, the Foreign Minister here spoke about the participation of, or the chairmanship of the Permanent Committee for Human Rights, chaired by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in preparing this new strategy. Please illustrate.
Thank you very much, Mona. I think this is a very important step forward in the establishment of the new republic, as we have given all the attention over the past few years to the infrastructure and to modernize Egypt's infrastructure in all domains. Time has come to pay attention to the well-being in education of the people living on this land, of their health, of their social welfare, and at the top of that is the human rights issue, which is definitely an Egyptian prerogative, and what is related to this is that the state, on top of it, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, has given all the attention to bring with cooperation of all the Egyptian institutions the production that we have seen today, which is the National Strategy for Human Rights. It's an Egyptian-made document by the collaboration of all the institutions to introduce to the international community an assurance that Egypt is keen to forge ahead with its new republic with an attention given especially to the human rights. I think the president...
Ambassador Hegazy, before we continue on, because we need to illustrate more, but here you pinpointed your finger on a very important issue, which is a homemade or a homegrown strategy. And here we recall what the president has been speaking about when he spoke about human rights and urged the international community to look to our cases from our eyes.
Indeed.
And see the situation from our stance, not from their own perspectives. So or today's strategy is just the result or the fruit of how the president grasped the situation and started leading the process of a whole strategy that really goes with the situation in Egypt and the region?
Thank you very much, Mona, for your addition. It is true, an Egyptian prerogative, an Egyptian responsibility, human rights of the Egyptian people is our responsibility. That we are keen, as I said, in forging ahead with the new is to try is observed. We have taken care of its infrastructure, its health, its education, and human rights given and encompassed and included in the national strategy is paying attention to the important role of our institutions and our civil society, which has been given 2022 as a year for civil society. I think the president, when he calls that, he assured that civil society has a fundamental role to play in addition to the role played by the official institutions. And as the president, in many messages given today in his inaugural speech of the national strategy, he assured Egypt adherence and respect as a founder nation to the International Human Rights Declaration in 1948. Egypt was one of the founders of this declaration, is committed fully to the basic human rights. And I'm sure that his call to all the Egyptian institutions to work together to observe the dignity of the Egyptian people is quite clear to everyone that human rights is a national interest. We have a national interest in observing human rights. All the major projects that you are seeing, like Hayat Karima, dignified or decent life, is centered towards availing to the citizen the right of housing, the right of living in a dignified condition, the right to observe his rights in education, in health, in all the aspects of the new republic. Egypt is keen to avail to the citizen their rights, and the human rights that we are talking about is not a nation like official obligation, but it's also the obligation of all civil society that they have to work hand in hand with the national institutions to achieve not only sustainable development, but also to introduce the culture of human rights everywhere. I think the comprehensive, as you said, Mona, of the human rights definition is very important. It goes along with Egypt Vision 2030, as said by the president, but it is a fundamental base to the establishment of the new republic. It is not only about infrastructure, it's about people. And when we talk about people, human rights comes on top, but with a comprehensive Egyptian understanding that human rights is also the right of housing, the right of better conditions, decent life, and I'm sure that this is the center, the important social revolution that we are witnessing today in developing the country side where millions of Egyptians living in the countryside are now seeing an improvement in their level livelihood. And I'm sure that what is also important to say that justice, as stipulated by the president, are an important aspect of human rights. I think the justice that is fast and efficient are among the human rights that we are working to attain. I think the citizenship values, tolerance, dialogue, and confronting discrimination and radicalism and alienating others on basis of ethnicity or religion are forbidden in the new republic. And I think the Egyptian institution has played an important role in alleviating all of those elements that cause tension in the society. I think the harmonious society that we are aiming for needs respect for human rights, and the establishment, I think, of the Supreme Committee, Permanent Supreme Committee for Human Rights are another addition to the important role the Egyptian Council for Human Rights are playing. And I think this coordinated and integrated approach to human rights will allow the committee to supervise the work of all institutions who has to add value to the human rights, being it culture, social, political, economic. So the Supreme Committee or Permanent Committee will assist the national councils to further enhance its role and attain its very important goal. And all that will require an overall attention to human rights and the combat of radicalism and discrimination.
Here you spoke about the strategies and what it contains. I have to say here that the strategy spans 5 years and is based on 4 main axes. It is based on 4 main axes. However, those axes are also or includes many other sub-axes. But here we are speaking about the civilian, the political rights, the economic, the social, the cultural, the women, children, people with special needs, youth, elder people, the education, and building in human resources. Here I must say, Ambassador Hegazy, that throughout the past years we've been working already on some of of those files, even without launching the main strategy. But if you remember here, youth empowering, women empowering, people with special needs, education, investing in our calibers and in our human resources richness. I mean here that we have been tackling those files before. How far do you see the steps that has been done throughout the past years in order to be able to reach that focal point in the history of Egypt?
Mona, attaining all the goals of human rights is a process. It's a process that Europe, for example, has worked on over the years. They have entered into world wars, and then they moved into integration. And during the course of their modern historical development, they have developed alongside the human rights that we are witnessing today. Egypt has passed many turmoils and internal disturbances since the events of 2011. And since then, Egypt has paid attention to the infrastructure to regain back the power and the economy to its feet. And through that, it has adopted a very courageous economic reform program. And time has come for the country that has announced a new republic to join that with the human rights element, which is a process that we have started with our attention giving to the freedom of creation, writing, thinking that renders Egypt one of the region super soft power that has played also an important role in establishing laws, not only in Egypt, but all over the Arab world. And they have also embarked on a modern judicial system that will allow a fast and efficient deliberation of our courts, in addition to the adherence to the rights of citizenship and the dialogue between the components of our nation and the confrontation of any kind of discrimination based or bias based on religion or ethnicity. I think the process is working fine. While we are launching our new republic, we are very much aware that the center of this development is the people. And to that, their health, their education, their housing, their dignified or decent life is on top. People who are in cities as well as in the countryside has been really taken care of. And what we are witnessing in the huge process of developing our countryside and attention given to the less needy is very important. People are now witnessing, not only in Egypt, but all over the world, that our project has a social dimension. And on that, human rights is part of the process. And now the coordinating committee that will look in an integrated and comprehensive way to the notion of human rights, in addition or in cooperation with the civil society, will work hand in hand, particularly in 2022. As I said, Mina has been declared by the President as the year for civil society. We all have the chance now to further enhance our impact. As you said rightly, that women are in the center, youth are in the center, but the Egyptian people will all enjoy the presence of such an institutional building, which will make human rights one of the most important tasks of the new republic.
Here, Ambassador Hegazy, as we said, that the main strategy really is built on four main axes. But let me here take some of the details of such a strategy, and here the strategy contributes to the promotion and development of public awareness of the culture, practicing of all forms of peaceful assembly, to exert or rather guarantees civilian and political rights, and leads to the building of a state of law that benefits Egypt and the people. It also aims to continue efforts exerted by religious institutions to renew the religious discourse, consolidate the values of citizenship, and create societal awareness of the importance of respecting religious freedoms, ensuring the continuation of the work of the committee tasked with legalizing the status of churches. Here it also speaks about building the capabilities and skills of the political parties and the cadres and calibers, prepare them for leadership. Also speaks about the labor law. It also gives hints on the strong partnership between the state and the civil society, since the civil society would be part and partial of preparing laws at this upcoming stage. They spoke about the NGOs or the civil society associations and the launching of them, but also they spoke about all freedoms and that should go with some of issues that could really harm the national security in terms of the importance of making all these freedoms that goes in line with protecting the national security of the state, protecting people or not harming people, also the health. Also, I mean here in balance, that all these freedoms should go in balance and in accordance with protecting the country. How do you view that?
Thank you, Mona, for this elaboration and detailed question, which allows me to talk about the comprehensive and integrated society. There is no stability to any society without respecting human rights, without the right of expression, without the right of assembly, without the right of housing, without the right of education, health. And this responsibility lies on the shoulders of institutions responsible and civil society working in the field. We have one of the world's oldest civil societies. We have like 55,000 civil society, and they are all working hand in hand with the government institution. And I think the presence of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the launch is a message in itself that Egypt, with its leadership, are keen to attain the goals of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and other important instruments in the field. And what is important that during the deliberation you have made in this very important comment and question is that human rights is part of your national security. If a society is given attention to human rights, the society is much more stable, the divisions are less, the vulnerability of the society towards certain interventions and criticisms comes from international community are less. When you say that human rights of Egyptian citizens is our prerogative, is our responsibility, and we are keen to attain human rights to our people because they are our people. They are not belonging to any other country. They are Egyptians. And the right of the Egyptian people to enjoy their human rights, which has been really stipulated in many previous documents and in the role of many other institutions, is fundamental. And the fundamental human rights accepted by the international community is known, and Egypt has declared to the world today that it is keen and its quest to establish a new republic, to put in the center of it the human rights of its citizens and the respect of the values that Egypt has committed itself to. And this will entail that all the institutions has to revise its rule, has to revise its practices, and how can they adhere further to the values of human rights to the benefit of its beneficiaries, which is the citizen. Towards 2030 strategy, it is not about infrastructure and modernizing the economy and the society from a physical point of view, but it also has to pay attention to the center, to the people who are the instrument to achieve the goals. So I think what we have established today is the soft power of how to enhance our capability through bringing in values to the work of human rights institution by establishing the permanent Supreme Committee of Human Rights, which will revise with all the institutions, with the help of civil societies, the statute, the practices in justice system, in the health system, in the education system, what is lacking to attain the goals that we all have agreed on to respect and to help the values to spread over the society, the fundamental base to the new republic.
Here, if I may ask you about this statement that was reiterated by our foreign ministry here, explaining that protection of human rights constitute a governmental policy and goal and is backed by an independent and impartial judiciary that acts as a guarantor of the rule of law and the protection of rights. And here we're speaking about an important role that the judiciary system would be doing at this very upcoming period. But we're also speaking about the ability of people, the NGOs, the civil society, the citizens, all that to understand the meaning of the freedoms that are being given to them.
Well, Mona, thank you very much. Freedoms are very important, but in the center of your question, judiciary system is playing a fundamental role, and the role of civil societies and even government institutions is to allow the judiciary with total freedom to come with its decisive resolutions or court orders to allow citizens to enjoy their freedoms, at the same time to receive their, disappointments with an open and fast decision-making process. It is important that the judiciary system is protected. At the same time, it's working hand in hand with all other institutions, so all have to understand what is important of protecting the value of human rights, at the same time to make sure that there is no injustice on any of the people, communities, or civil societies, or institutions even. So we all understand that the judiciary system is key in the heart of protecting human and civil values. Judiciary is important. It has to be independent, and it is all stipulated in the Egyptian constitution, and that has to be observed. And the Supreme Court will be always there to observe the final order in coordination with the nation's interest and the human rights principles. In addition to all what we have said, Mona, and heard today, is that yes. When we talk about a process of developing human rights, it's a joint responsibility of all Egyptian institutions, human rights, and even citizens who have the right to claim their rights. And what we have to do is to avail a judiciary system that will allow them reaching their rights, and to civil society to protect this process and to make sure that it will bring to them yes. The aims that they are calling for. And I'm sure that now we have the institution building, we have all the rights given to civil society, and I'm sure the message has reached the citizen who will work hand in hand with the civil society, through civil societies and through government institutions, to attain one of Egypt's fundamental goals, which is observing human rights.
Right. Ambassador Mohamed Hegazy, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for being with us over the phone and for your input here. Over the course of a year, the state has studied human rights recommendations put forth by the National Council for Human Rights and coordinated with more than 30 ministries and bodies to assess the requirements of their implementation. Before we continue on, let's have a break and we'll come back for more discussion.
For millions of years, the Nile has been flowing through the heart of Egypt, giving her life and fertility. For more than 40,000 years, our ancestors have been living in the valley of the Nile, farming and planting, building a magnificent civilization, admired by the world to this day. And now more than 25% of the Egyptians working in the agricultural field, which is more than 40 million Egyptians, are facing the danger of drought and thirst due to the threat of reducing the water of our lifeline, the Nile. The cause of water shortage is Ethiopia building a dam 5 times bigger than its needs, and its intention to store 74 billion cubic meters of water, which means reducing Egypt's shares of water by 20 billion cubic meters. But Egypt has the right to live. Support life. Support the Nile flowing in Egypt.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Right, welcome back. And just to give a wrap up to what has been done throughout this morning up till few or just 1 hour ago, when President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has launched the National Strategy for Human Rights. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said on Saturday that the Egyptian state is committed to respecting and protecting personal freedoms, the right of political participation, and the freedom of expression. In a speech at the launch of the National Strategy for Human Rights at the new administrative capital, President Sisi said Egypt welcomes differences in opinion as long as they respect the freedoms of others and aim through constructive criticism to achieve the better for the country and people. During a roundtable discussion on human rights at the event, President Sisi hailed the role of the civil society as main and important in enhancing and protecting human rights at the political, economic, and social levels. He said that the civil society organizations contribute to spreading awareness of human rights in society and participating in the efforts to face extremism. The President also affirmed that the Egyptian state will continue to exert tireless efforts at the level of the freedom of religion and belief. Egypt, he said, the President said, the country with a rich religious heritage, continues to make unremitting efforts to emphasize the values of citizenship, tolerance, and dialogue, and to combat incitements to violence and discrimination. The state has achieved remarkable progress to ensure equality among the children of one nation in rights and duties. And he cited the issuance of a law on the construction and restoration of churches as an example. President Sisi said that this law has resulted in the legislation of the status of 1,800 unlicensed church and adjacent structures. The President said that the new strategy for human rights aims to develop a comprehensive approach to human rights as an integral part of implementing the country's national development project. The strategy is the first comprehensive and long-term homegrown strategy in the human rights field in Egypt, according to the earlier to the presidential spokesman, Ambassador Samarati. Here also the President gave some remarks on the rights that will be guaranteed during the past period, but he also put some remarks on how the states developed this very concrete effort to reach this national strategy for human rights throughout years of preparation, of understanding to the realities of our nation, to the demands of our people, to the needs of the people. This is, as the President said, a homegrown strategy that is preparing the nation for